Alright, test, 1, 2, Velociraptor.
Flux capacitor.
This is a test of the emergency broadcast system.
All tests are tests.
There has been a
Especially
zombie viral
these
outbreak.
tests.
Your face will be eaten off.
You probably...
This is the Unwanted Epilogue.
A podcast nobody asked for about movies nobody likes. I'm Jill.
I'm Ford.
And I'm Patrick.
Alright, our first movie ever.
To kick off.
Our format's going to be kind of that we all watched this movie and took notes on our own, and we haven't really discussed it very much at all. We'll just be new to each other, more or less. So we're going to talk about the 2011 Three Musketeers movie made by...
Paul W.S. Anderson.
There you
Paul
go.
Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas?
No, it's Paul W.S. Anderson.
Paul W.S. Anderson. Who else? You know anyone else?
I don't know anyone else.
Okay.
I guess Mila
Mila's
probably
in it.
also produced it because she is in it.
Mila Jovovich?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Orlando Bloom is in it. And Christoph Waltz before he got real big.
In a bad wig.
In a
In a really bad wig.
I think that might be his natural hair.
No.
Alright, so before we watched this movie, I went and watched both the trailers and wrote a few things down. So the companies in the first trailer are Summit Entertainment, and I went and looked this up. They were acquired by Lionsgate a couple years ago, and the only movie they did that was really noteworthy, that jumped out at me anyway, was Ender's Game. And I'm not sure what else they did on this movie. And then Constantine Film is a German studio that was the primary production company. They made Neverending Story, they made the Fantastic Four movies, including the 1994 one that was never released, that's just like a crazy piece of shit.
You mean an amazing well-made
crazy
film?
piece of shit?
It's better than the one that came out with Chris Evans? Yeah.
Oh, jeez. They made the Resident Evil movies, of course, and they also made Downfall, which is like one of my favorite movies ever. That movie where it's about Hitler in the Fuhrer bunker at the end of the war, and they made all the memes.
Ford loves to talk about this movie. Ford recommends this movie like once a week to everyone he knows.
It's like one of my top 5 movies, probably, and I was just amazed that they had made this. And then a company called Impact Pictures that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page did the filmography, from what I can tell. From the first trailer, all that you really get from the movie is that it's like an action movie with sword fights and titties. There's like nothing on the plot at all. It's just like we're badasses that have to be badasses all the time. We're warriors, and it's really expressly mentioned over and over that it's filmed in 3D, and
it looks a lot like a Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movie in the trailer anyway, and I think that's probably what they were going for in the actual movie too, and failed miserably at. And
there's some hokey stuff popping out at you even in the trailer, so it struck me as this is probably like the Jaws, kind of like a Jaws 3D of its time, like relying on a lot of special 3D effects that come out at you. The URL for the movie at the end is 3-musketeers-3d.com, which is unavailable, of course. And
we should buy it.
The site is registered in Thailand, actually, so I don't know if it was squatted at some point or what happened there. And then trailer 2, it's the same exact trailer pretty much, with the same voiceover and same beat and same rhythm, basically. Same cloaked man rising out of the water at the beginning.
That's my favorite scene in the movie.
But the voiceover just tells you the plot, basically, where it says the cardinal rules the land, Buckingham rules the air, and Mila Jovovich is a lethal assassin, and they want to take over the Kingdom of France that the Musketeers apparently work for.
She's not just a lethal assassin; she's also a spy and a Sam Fisher type secret super agent.
And a biological super weapon.
Yes. She has dresses that have built-in grappling hooks, and she's a fantastic character in this movie.
Tear away. Yeah,
I really enjoyed her performance.
It's got a lot of airships in the second trailer, which were pretty much missing from the first trailer. They show the aerial battles, and again, there's lots of stuff flying at the camera, and they reused a bunch of crap from trailer 1. So going into it, it looks like a crazy action movie, basically.
And somehow manages to be the most boring fucking movie with tons of action in it that I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
So do we want to just go through it?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
chronologically?
I got an intro.
From the beginning?
Starting off on the intro.
Okay, well, you can start us off. Go for it.
Just at the intro, as it's very like CGI 3D stuff, which is obviously supposed to be like it's like kind of like spinning around a map with little models of soldiers and horsemen on it. So
Yeah,
it's obviously supposed to be popping out, kind of.
Yeah, it looks like a shitty CGI Risk battle
Right.
on a big map.
Yeah.
And that's the opening of the movie.
But before that, you get the old-timey maps.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
like how seriously you should take this film.
And the sign of a good movie is when the camera zooms through the title at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how you know if you'd actually been sitting in the theater at the time, you would have experienced what it was like to fly through a letter in first person, and that would have been mind-blowing. I think with the 3D glasses on, it would have been mind-blowing.
And subconsciously, then you're entering the movie.
Yeah, so it's immersive in a way that we could not have just gotten watching it on Netflix.
No.
So we have to give it that,
Yeah.
at least.
Do we?
No. You don't have to give it anything.
We can.
And they do kind of give us like a background plot thing at that point again, which is nice because there's almost there's little of that later. Motivations are badly explained.
I guess you're just supposed to know the Three Musketeers story.
It's
which
possible. Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone here has varying levels of knowledge of that.
Limited knowledge.
So it's been a long time since I saw a movie of it.
We've all seen the Wishbone version at least. In the first part, they're in Venice, obviously. But is that ever mentioned?
You're supposed to know that because there's a gondola and there's some guys
Filthy water.
And there's filthy poop water that they're swimming in.
Well, and they kind of show it on a map or whatever. But do they ever say that we're not in France at the beginning?
I think you're just supposed to infer it, and by the fact that they're there to steal Leonardo da Vinci's plans for an airship, I guess. Because I assume that's who the plans are, who wrote them, right?
Sounds about right.
Who else would make a flying airship?
No, they do
shit.
mention that later.
That it's Da Vinci?
Yeah.
I didn't just pull that out of my ass because I wasn't paying that much attention.
So the very first scene is Athos rising slowly out of the water. Or no. Very first he shoots someone from underwater.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
His fancy
The worst
Star Wars
ninja ever, after his initial ninja-ing, he immediately gets caught by 20 guys. He comes out and he pulls out 2 crossbows and just starts blowing people away because he's the shittiest ninja ever.
But those guys that come with drawn halberds or whatever just go, "Halt, sir!" You just executed this man, and they're just please, sir.
This is a theme in the movie where people are murdered with reckless abandon, people who probably have families, people who probably contribute to the local economy are just murdered by these these serial killers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not heroes. They murder hundreds of people in this movie for no reason other than because they like to sword fight.
Right.
Yes,
basically.
they
Right,
do.
yeah.
Legitimate
They like to drink
reason.
and they like to sword fight. That's
Right.
their reasoning, basically.
Alright, so we're in this dark alley. Athos comes out of the water, kills these guys. Other guys come. He kills them too. The alley, even though it's dark and shitty, is somehow gaudy and shiny and colorful.
It all looked
yes.
like Jill pointed out while we were watching it that it looked like it was just going from CGI thing to set to CGI thing
Very
to
jarring.
set. Very obviously.
Lots of CGI.
Yeah.
Very clearly a set with shitty, filthy water.
It was like watching the new Hobbit movies. Not the old Lord of the Rings where it was all well blended together, but the Hobbit where it was a shitty rock that was painted gray and
Right.
a guy sitting on it and it just looked
Composited
really
in. Yeah.
it looked really awkward. And all of it was like that. There wasn't any good. There was one shot where they were on a dock and there was a ship in the background where it looked good.
Right. So our first scenes are basically introducing these people. Where Athos kills these guys and then kisses the girl. And
Yeah.
it cuts to the next guy.
Okay, when Christian Batman swoops down onto the gondola, this is my next favorite scene in the movie.
This next scene, he says a little prayer first.
Yeah, he says
Yes,
a prayer,
he
and then
does.
he swoops down and murders 5 people, and then he has sex with a hooker.
Right.
Immediately.
Right.
Okay, hands down, best character right there.
Is that what she meant by "I'm not a lady"? Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it. Now I
Yeah,
get it.
I think it was there's a lot of misogyny in this movie, so it's really hard to sort it all.
Difficult to
Does she
keep
just mean
track.
I'm easy? Because that's kind of how I took it.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
Like her, it could go either way. And then we're introduced to Ray Stevenson playing the Punisher, and also a French guy. He's the guy from The Punisher, the remake.
He's the one that's in chains?
Warzone, yeah. And that's my next favorite scene in the movie, where he rips the chains out of the walls and hugs a guy, and he brings him in for a gentle embrace with the chains, and he looks him in the eyes. And they get in really close. Yeah,
I
they give a little
spit
kiss.
my drink when he did that.
Oh my god!
I did.
Well, okay. See, this point in the movie, I actually thought this movie is going to be really fun. It's going to be like this schlocky, shitty action the whole time. And it's going to be really funny because it's bad, but it just doesn't ever quite reach that point again.
Yeah.
Where it's like fun bad.
So they like blew their load, maybe.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And they do the like Suicide Squad character intros where
Right.
everyone has like a Borderlands style fucking
Like a wipe, wipe with your name across the thing.
And can we talk about how Mila's character is named Milady? And I know that's from the actual story, but her name is Mila, and her character's name is Milady.
I didn't put that together. Yeah.
Mila
You
Lady.
just
So the whole
blew my
time
mind.
I was like Mila Lady in my head. So I just call her that the whole time because it sounded so stupid, but it's a dumb name to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is like the ultimate neckbeard fiction because there's literally a character named Milady. And there's lots of guys wearing fedoras too. So it's
like-
Oh yeah, their
Yeah.
hat game is strong.
Fancy. Like, yeah.
And the king is basically like an
And-
incel dipshit, right?
And they all studied the
Fancy
blade.
Yeah, and they've all studied the blade, including the Pope. He has studied the blade.
Cardinal.
I'm sorry, the cardinal. I said this like 4 times while we were watching the movie. I know he's the cardinal, but I'm gonna call him the Pope.
Stop calling him.
Or
a pope.
we're not fucking there yet.
Okay, we're not there. Keep going. We haven't gotten very far.
Yeah, so I was gonna say the movie's kind of like the A-Team, but everyone is the face man. Like every single character is just the one guy's like ostensibly the strong man, and
But he's also like the charming guy too.
Right,
He has
that's
like all
what I'm
the
saying.
he has like all the
True.
one-liners
all
too.
the charming guy.
Yeah, you're right. That's an accurate description.
Yeah. So so then they go in. They they all rendezvous inside of the palace or whatever, and they all got a key. They've all gotten a key off of whoever. And they all go in and they mention something about how this is Leonardo's secret annex or whatever the shit as they put their keys in the floor.
You skipped right past the CGI crossbow.
No, that's coming up.
Oh, does that come when they go
the
under?
Stairs
Yeah.
go down.
Okay, okay.
The
Stairs
stairs
went
descend,
down.
and it looks like the mocap graphics from the old Myst games, where the way that the floor transitions from being one thing to then all of a sudden the composites overlaid and the stairs go down is just like a just jarring switch.
I didn't notice how bad it was when I was watching.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I did like how they actually looked like they filmed in actual locations in those giant palace.
See, but that was all CGI.
I don't think it was.
No, dude, that was Naboo Palace.
Was it?
No, but I mean,
I think they filmed in a couple of
No.
actual French giant houses.
like Palace of Versailles. and
Yeah,
shit?
I think so.
No way. No
Dude,
way.
they didn't look like sets at some certain points.
I mean, maybe.
Or they looked like they actually went and put people in costumes in the actual.
I just
place.
don't believe that they would have done the effort for that.
There are a lot of times they didn't. They
They
not
did not.
put in the effort.
Not on the wig budget.
Not on the wig
certain.
budget.
So they go down these stairs, and Mia Jovovich. It's kind of pointless just explaining this whole movie.
Mila
probably,
Lady.
right? Maybe edit out me saying this.
No.
Dumb to just go through.
No, because that's how we actually get.
All right. Well, she's like, all right, I'm going first, and runs. No, they throw a fucking thing first.
She
Yeah,
throws a
Dagger.
No. They throw a dagger
The
on the floor,
dagger?
and all the things go off, and they knocks all the faces off the wall and shit, and then they cut to the CGI crossbows in
Yeah,
the
in
wall.
the wall. Okay, but it's jumped out to me that shooting these balls all over the floor don't set off more of the pressure plates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is
Did that jump out at you,
it's a
Joe?
very well designed trap.
Yeah.
This is a high-tech trap
And
for its
the best design about it is that all you have to do is do a rock and roll power slide to get under the balls,
Yeah,
and
it
then you
turns
can
out.
just dodge all of them.
Right. So
Yeah.
they sit there and scratch their belly buttons for a minute. Think about what they should do.
Because they're stupid mans.
and
They
Mia,
are stupid mans.
Yeah. And Mia
What are they going to do? Fight the crossbows with their swords?
Mia Jahizievich just says, screw you guys, I'm going first.
Pretty much.
And just sprints.
In the
Goodness
best scene in the
God.
movie, she gets through without getting hit, and it goes into slow motion, and it looks really terrible. Looks awful.
And then we get the first, like, down her blouse shot of the whole movie.
Where she's in the corset and just laying back and...
We should all
up.
applaud her boob tech.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot to work with.
They probably hired a
her boobs are very
third-party...
small. No offense to Mila, because she's very pretty.
She
but...
could hide a key in there. It was enough.
I'm not convinced they didn't, like, develop anti-gravity for boob tech on this movie.
There was a lot of boob tech in
A lot of
this
boob
film.
tech went into this movie, along with
That's where the wig budget
in the next
went,
scene where
to
they're
the boob
forced to
tech.
use the CGI poop to escape.
Yeah.
There was a lot of money that went into CGI poop in this movie. Somebody spent several $1 million, or not several, but maybe like $2 million of the budget animating like poop water in that scene in Venice, because it's like a giant wave of poop water, and then it comes out the like ground and comes through the palace too.
Right.
And there's like a guard that gets caught in the poop water. And it's like, ah, poop water.
It's like, oh, I was 2 days from retirement. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. So, at this point in the movie, I was going like, isn't Orlando Bloom and Mia Jovovich, weren't they the bad guys? And then, like, 2 seconds later, they all get betrayed by Orlando and...
Yeah, they do. They force them to take drugs.
Yeah.
Via a cup. Orlando Bloom's like,
No, I
it's
think
on
it
the
was-
cup.
It was via peer pressure.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the power of his hair, which
Well,
was...
okay, I want to talk about
Orlando's
that.
hair?
Yes!
Orlando Bloom shows up in this movie channeling and also dressed as Salvador Dali.
Oh, yeah.
He,
You are not
his
wrong.
hairdo is just wearing his body because it is tunneling into our dimension to take control. That hairdo is so fucking crazy, man.
It's powerful.
It's powerful. That's what I'm saying.
I thought that they did like a Captain Jack Sparrow thing on him the whole time.
I think that's what they were trying to do, except his dialogue was so fucking boring that he
And
couldn't
his
even...
bad guy laugh
Oh my
was
God.
like
Well, and he kept doing
not even mediocre.
the sway. You get like
Yeah, he was
very,
giving it up,
like,
but not,
fluid
like-
and like
Yeah.
flowy. He's drunken boxer
I'm
kind
an
of.
air warship pilot.
Milo was like wolfing down nearby scenery, and he was just kind of like picking at it a little bit. He wasn't really chewing on the scenery, but Milo is just like.
Yeah. So,
So immediately after they're betrayed,
right, we have a cut. In
a hard cut to handsome Michael Cera fighting with his father.
I think he looks like a young Jodie Foster,
Okay,
actually.
okay, that's pretty good too, Jodie Foster.
Young
okay.
Jodie Foster.
I
It's kind of like the guy that died that was Joker.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger?
Like a younger Heath
I
Ledger.
can see that too.
Yeah.
I just kept going back
You
to Michael
two see
Cera for
that.
some reason. I was
Heath
like
Ledger
beautiful
was
Michael
a
Cera
handsome man.
with long hair,
This kid was
He's got like
not.
hockey hair.
and he's like a much worse actor than Michael
His
Cera.
wig is a perfect example.
He's not wearing a wig.
It looks like a bad wig.
It looks like a
Is
wig.
that his real hair?
I don't know.
I think he had extensions.
No.
I mean, it looked like bad extensions.
Oh.
It's like always greasy though.
always greasy.
It's kind of like the Braveheart, where in Braveheart his hair is just like nappy the whole movie.
So he wants to become a musketeer, obviously, because of his beautiful hair.
D'Artagnan,
They all
y'all.
have beautiful hair,
Well,
except for the guy who has no hair.
It starts off with him sword fighting his dad. He beats his dad, but his dad kind of gets the one up on him and says, "No one will fight fair, son. Take that lesson with you."
But then he also tells him, he's like live, love, laugh,
Frizzle
make
pep
mistakes,
talk.
punch an owl, like take a sword from a guard,
Get busy.
get herpes,
Miss
like
Frizzle.
go out there, really do it,
It
man.
is. It's
Yeah.
Miss Frizzle pep talk
So
class.
after he beats his dad in the sword fight, though, he hands him an absolutely modern-looking sword and says, "Son, this sword has been passed down from generation to generation."
Yeah, it looks brand
Yes.
new.
Yeah.
It looks like it just
Absolutely
came off the prop
spotless,
table.
Like, yeah. And even if it wasn't, would you want a generations-year-old sword? Like, this isn't Lord of the Rings. It's
To
not
go
some
with it
elven
into town.
magic.
This is not
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
In real life, that kid would get robbed immediately.
Well, that's
And-
kind of what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but he picks a fight with. We'll keep
But
going.
yeah, before we get there, so almost immediately though, transitioning. There's not even a cut.
No.
This is apparently the final thing they do before his parents just send him off into the world. where his dad goes, okay, here's 15 crowns or whatever, and his mom rides up on a horse just then, and he goes, and your mom wants you to take the horse with you.
Yes.
And like, okay, now get out of Dodge.
Can we talk about how the horse was the best actor in the movie? The horse gave an excellent performance. He had good timing. He had good comedic timing. There's a scene later in the movie where he tells him to take the horse into their little like stable or whatever, and the horse like blows like a raspberry at them at that moment. And I was like, best actor in the movie right there. That he's the only one that gave any kind of performance at all.
Their sets were beautiful. No horse poop.
So a very strange kind of just send off right off of that scene. Like very little background on him. We meet his parents for like 2 seconds. We just know that his dad wants him to live and love and live, eat,
Fuck and
love.
fight and
Eat a milkshake with bananas and strawberries.
Try pineapple on pizza. You might not like it. So, there was actually like a couple decent shots though that stood out to me in that movie, or in that scene where
In the whole movie.
Yeah, from the whole movie pretty much, where he like rides off into the view, basically like at the camera, into the foreground. And then you see just his parents standing like silhouetted underneath like the one gnarled tree on the hill. Like, it's like, okay, like this shitty filmography company, like Impact Pictures, they might have
way to go, Impact.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there
Shout
was
out to
some
Impact.
mildly cool stuff. Like some of the CGI shots really did look good.
I liked all the stuff with fireworks.
The
it was
big,
pretty.
Yeah, the big giant scenes with tons of actual extras in them.
They always had fireworks and nighttime scenes though, so that they could like light it up and have the CGI not look stupid, maybe or something like.
I don't care. I like
It's
fireworks.
easier to do nighttime CGI.
But
I know
not
that.
when you're lighting it up with.
But not when you're
fireworks.
lighting it up. So
Seems
that
like
does
a
seem like an
mistake.
extra
Yeah.
step of
So the first place this kid ends up, like, from him riding off into the foreground, it cuts to him riding into like a tavern and hopping off his horse, and there are some like king's guards that have something shitty to say about his horse.
Hannibal Lecter
Yeah.
from the Hannibal TV show.
Is
is wearing an eye patch that has
Washford.
the chaos symbol on it.
The
Did you notice that?
Yeah, the 8-pointed
Yeah.
Eye
star.
patch
Yeah.
and an evil goose.
And he has an evil goatee. He's certainly a servant of Slaanesh.
Yeah, definitely a agent of chaos.
Yeah, certainly an agent of chaos. Just because of the eye
He
patch.
also has a ponytail. That trifecta.
That's how you know he's a bad guy?
No British accent.
No, and see, throughout the movie, they keep reestablishing how much of a bad guy he is because he immediately shoots beautiful Michael Cera in his arm.
Yeah.
And then we have to talk about this too, because Michael Cera then goes on to defeat like 40 people with the arm that he just got shot in.
yeah, what the
and he
hell?
like
Sure
swings,
does.
he like swings and swashbuckles around with the fucking arm, and it
He's
doesn't
a
immediately just fall
I didn't
off.
think about that
musketeer
shot.
in
He gets
his
shot with a
heart.
fucking
Yeah.
musket ball through his goddamn arm.
He's a
Yeah.
musketeer in his heart.
Right, so the bad guy kind of Indiana Jones where he's like, I'll fight all of y'all, and he just turns around and pops a cap.
Yep.
Like, and just
Yeah.
shoots him, and it's like hilarious. And at this point, you're still like, this movie's got a lot of potential. Like,
Yeah.
This is still like a really like decent movie.
Actually,
Like-
when the sword fight, even during that
Yeah.
whole scene, I was like, "This is kind of great." When they're murdering people.
He's saved by Mila Jovovich, happens to be riding by in her fucking chariot, of course. Or
In
Yeah.
a fabulous
her
carriage.
chariot- her carriage,
Can we
yeah.
talk about how fabulous both her outfits in this movie are, and also her
The outfits in general.
her rides?
Yeah. We're not even to the crazy outfits yet.
No.
Like the costume people, like all the budget in this movie went to
Costumes,
like slow-mo 3D CGI,
3G CGI,
CGI, 2D 3G.
3G CG, dude.
Can we get a nude Tane?
They spent it where they spent it, okay?
They spent that money. It was like watching it burn on the screen, though. Like, because of how shitty the performances were and the script was, it was just like people in these nice costumes saying this horrible dialogue
Yeah.
in these like shitty like Palace of Naboo, like you said, like
Right.
background. It just looks so bad.
So she saves him and tosses him a handkerchief that
Yeah,
has
she does.
nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
Nope.
Which defies that principle where if you put the gun,
You set
on
something
the,
up earlier.
Yeah, if you put the
Pay
gun
it
on the
off later.
mantle, then you got to use the gun at some point.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called.
She, you know.
Well, this movie has a
something
ton of shit like
It
that
has a ton of shit like that.
that just isn't set up and doesn't pay off.
Well, they make like one thing that's kind of a setup for something that just never pans out. And there was a lot of that going on. Okay, so then we cut from that straight to him like riding into town. I guess like the next day or whatever. It's supposed to have been.
You skipped the Monopoly pieces traveling on a map scene.
Oh,
but
right.
that was like a short little transition to him.
Yeah, but they showed
riding on a
him. He
horse.
just rides into into
that's all it
Paris.
is. Yeah, it just zooms in and he's riding into the town.
Into Paris. Yeah.
Right.
So he gets there. Basically, his first 20 seconds in Paris is just running into every major musketeer randomly.
Literally in like 15 seconds.
Was efficient in pissing people off.
He was. Not only did he piss off the main bad guy's like right-hand man, who hit the first day he was around, then the next day he pissed off all the musketeers.
There were a few moments in this movie that reminded me of like an RPG game or like a bad D&D campaign where like you just run into the crucial people right away.
It's all a matter of convenience.
Yeah, and
instead
just
of
schedule
organic.
And he schedules duels with all three of them.
Okay, I would question though why a duel takes an hour, as they were all scheduled
Why
an hour apart.
An hour apart? Yeah, why
Is that
not?
the standard time for a duel?
Right, or why not? They all show up at the same time anyway. The other two guys were 2 hours and 1 hour early. So he schedules duels with all three of these guys. And it's really hard to tell from him running around in town if it's like 1850s London or if it's like 1600s like agrarian France. So yeah, he schedules these duels. It cuts to the cardinal playing chess against himself.
In the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. The king comes in and
Oh no, I thought that was where they were playing together.
No, that's later.
That's later, okay.
Later. The king comes in and he's a lady with like heels, basically.
He had the silkiest wig in the whole production.
And big heels on.
Big heels, beautiful tights.
Like shapely shoes.
He was a gorgeous man.
And he comes in and asks a question about the bad guy that flew away, Orlando Bloom.
Buckingham? Borkingham?
Brokenham.
Salvador
Orlando
Dali.
Buckingham.
Orlando Dali.
He asks a question with him and you have a moment of, does he know? And then it's like he just wants to know about the fashion in London at the moment.
Yeah, because he's a weak, useless king, and he's a cook.
He wants to be sexy.
And then he exits the scene. So that's the initial establishing shot of the king. Then it cuts back to our duel, and the kid just wants to be a musketeer, and that
deep in his heart
is apparently just shorthand for like superhero crime fighter, because it's never been established what a musketeer is or does.
From what I can tell, musketeers murder hundreds of men who have families, wives, and children. They destabilize local economies, and they are generally horrible people for the most part.
Porthos, right? The
Porthos,
Punisher guy.
the Punisher.
He says he lives for the money
And the drinking.
then stabbing the money.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then the drinking.
No, what he does is he throws a coin at the ceiling.
He flicks it, it goes
Flips
ding!
it. He throws a knife, which goes through the coin, because he's a really good
because
knife
he likes
man.
stabbing the money.
Yeah, because he likes stabbing money, like you said.
And the money is actually just chocolate.
He drinks.
Chocolate coins.
So this is actually the movie's only example of showing instead of telling, because he doesn't say the words that he means. He actually just does the action of the thing. So that, I'll give it that too.
That's generous.
During the duels, instead of a duel, what happens is the King's Guards come and they end up banding together to fight the King's Guards.
4 against 40.
4 against
Or
40.
400.
And this is when they murder 300 people.
4,000.
Yeah.
They literally, and then a crowd of people cheers for them after they murder
crowd of
these
people
men.
gathers on the balconies around to watch them. And the kid, our hero, beautiful
Michael Cera.
stops to like mac on this girl during the fight, and like he'll like mac on her, and then he turns around to like do a little more sword fighting, and like kicks the guy back down, and then turns back around and has some other like one-liner.
This leads to one of the sexist jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
Where the Punisher says, French women have 1,000 ways to say no, and only some of them mean yes.
Right.
And I was like, whoa!
He took it there.
Whoa!
He did it.
Like, whoa! Okay, so, yeah.
So, okay, and there's also like a cliched part in this fight where like at some point the kid like saves each one of the musketeers, and they end up being like back to back, and then they share like a tender moment and meet eyes and like have little
And then
kisses.
they kiss. Yeah.
Little kisses. Just a little moment. So like at the end of this fight, they're all best friends. Or something.
Musketeers. musketeer
That's really what it is.
Now he's a musketeer because he had a fight with them.
Yeah, he becomes one of them, one of us.
He is an honorable man now after a fight.
So
Oh my
he goes
God.
back home with the Musketeers and like goes home with them, and then they're all sitting around. And they're just like, all we live for anymore is the booze, and
Yeah.
like we're
Yeah.
all jaded as fuck. And he's like, oh, this is not the Musketeer type of thing I set out for. Like,
There's no such thing as a hero. We
Right.
love to drink and fuck prostitutes.
Yeah.
Basically.
we're obsolete.
And what's the name of the comedian that they have as their manservant?
James Corden.
That's when
God.
James Corden enters the film and gives the most
the
baffling
manservant.
performance.
Planchet?
Well, but they're all giant dicks to him.
Okay, so they
They're
thought this shit
horrible to
was
Planchet.
hilarious. When they were filming this movie,
Yeah.
these people thought that
supposed to be the
this
plucky
was
comic
the
relief.
funniest shit.
Right, and all the plucky comic relief consists of them just shitting all over him.
Pretty much.
Like they just treat him like absolute garbage.
He's the Meg character.
Yeah, he's Meg. He essentially like runs the house or whatever.
He says, I'm gonna get pooped on if I have to go outside. And they go, you gotta go outside. What's his name? Pavlov?
Planchet. I think.
So they go, Planchet, go sit out, get outside and
You
get
have to
shit
sleep
on in your
outside.
face.
in
And
the
gets
cold.
pooped on.
And
Yeah.
then he wakes up, they show a shot of this camera going over the house, and he's
And
on
sure
the porch,
enough,
and he
he's
gets
getting
poop in his
on.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a comedy
Classic
film
Planchet.
called The Three Musketeers.
It's a comedy film.
You didn't come here expecting sword fights, did you?
So yeah, we also find out that they're like completely broke though. So they're like bums that are just they're like winos. Like they're like violent fucking menaces to society.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, they murder
and they're dicks to like
police.
the one guy that's like loyal to them. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Pretty
Like,
much.
They're absolutely terrible fucking people.
who, had, by the way, had a great wig on. His wig was fantastic.
Are you
Planchet?
talking about Planchet right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Planchet's wig was
One
excellent.
of the worst wigs
His-
in the bunch.
His wig
Okay.
was an afterthought. They were like, wait, you shaved your head before you came to the set, you motherfucker? We told you to grow your hair out for 6 months before.
It
He's like,
was
I did.
so
And I grew
terrible.
like a chia pet, like 3 inches of hair. And so they had to
In
give
a
him
true
wig.
Planchet form, they're like, well, we're gonna have to shave it. Maybe wear this itchy
You're gonna have to be bald before we
Yeah.
put this wig
Yep.
on you.
Wear this scratchy wig.
Oh my god.
So at this point in the movie,
It cuts back to Christoph Waltz.
Well, no,
after
at this
that.
point in the movie, I hit pause and I went, "Dear God, there's still over an hour of this movie."
He also had those moments.
Yeah, I think
of,
it was. I think
haven't
40
we
minutes.
been here for a while?
40 minutes in was our first like where we paused it and we were like, "Holy motherfuck!" There's like
Stand up
so
and
much
like
time left.
shake it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
It felt like only 40 minutes had passed, but it felt like it was like dark outside. After like it had been day when we started watching and it was dark outside. So Christoph Waltz in a this is the chess scene where
Yeah,
he's
so
playing
we
against
cut
the king.
we cut from here and cut back to Christoph Waltz playing chess with the king.
And this is where, and I don't know if this started earlier in the movie, but this is just where I noticed it, where the camera starts just moving to the right.
For
no fucking reason other than the scene is super boring. So the director was like, "We're gonna move the camera and it'll be super more interesting."
Like dynamic.
But it just
Yeah.
keeps it moves to the right and then it cuts and then it moves to the right and it cuts and it moves to the right and it cuts. And he does this again and again later in the fucking movie. Like they'll be all standing around a table and the camera will just go to the right around them while they're talking.
yeah.
And it just does it again and then it does it again and then it
It's
does
like
it
a
again.
lazy-
Yeah, it's like there was no. I didn't want to shoot shot reverse shot because that would have meant I had to shoot it twice. I had to shoot everybody 2 times.
Right.
And if you just do this tracking shot to the side, then you only have to shoot it 1 time.
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
over again. So yeah, they play chess.
We find out that the king both sucks at chess and is like a big baby about it.
Yeah, he's like Boogie
yeah.
on the internet and in that video where he flips
Boogie.
the table.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just immediately he loses and he flips all the chess pieces off the table.
And
Fuck
then he's
that.
and then he's like smug about it, where he's like, "Oh, you didn't see that one coming," kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz, who you
Like
can tell is
Henderson.
just
You
dying
got
inside
me.
while he gives his performance. Yeah, he does his best. That was good, Your Majesty.
Didn't you caught me by surprise.
Oh my god. And
Then there's like lots of titties in this scene.
yeah, where
It's like
all
the
the
rest of
ladies
it.
show up.
Yeah.
The
But
king
this-
shows up in a sexy pilgrim hat in the next scene. And this was when the movie like
Sexy
had completely
pilgrim
jumped the shark for me,
Yeah.
where I was no longer really into what was going on because they were showing people in like wacky costumes.
This is actually where my notes become like one line. So yeah, like
Scaled it back a bit.
well, one line for yes.
well,
so-
all this is setting up this part, and this is why it's so fucking boring. Is they're setting up the bad guys.
plan. Right. And the plan is to execute a Game of Thrones style plot and like double cross both the French king and Orlando Bloom simultaneously
So that he can take power.
to get Christoph Waltz from the second most powerful man who still basically pulls all the strings in France to the most powerful man in France.
Yeah, my question was, why does he want a position where everyone knows who he is?
Right.
Why doesn't he
he's,
want to stay in the shadows?
Like he's Dick Cheney right now.
Yeah.
And he's trying to become George Bush.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
He should have just been a bad guy that ran things in the background.
Right.
And that would have been
well,
better.
and that's what
Is that the story though? In the original?
He's a smart guy.
Is that the original?
He did
I don't
many unnecessary things.
He was always like
so he's just like a stupid evil
including his
guy.
unnecessary train everywhere he went.
That was
people
beautiful.
Ran by
That was
him,
beautiful.
bunching up his
and his
beautiful
giant,
red
like,
dress.
his massive wrist pieces that he had 3D printed in the back somewhere.
3D printed, yeah.
God 3D printed them for him.
And it's still never explained who Mila Jovovich is supposed to be, other than just like the femme fatale.
She's Mila Lady.
Pilot.
She's just like the super spy. But like,
she's
why
Sam
is,
Fisher of the 1700s,
like,
1600s.
Why does anyone ever trust her ever? Because she's obviously just like
Because of the boob tech.
it's kind of like she's James Bond, but it's like everyone knows that she's James Bond. You know
But
what I mean?
stupider because everyone trusts her, even though
Right.
they know she's
Yeah.
going to betray them.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's an excellent question. Why does anyone let her go anywhere?
Right. Or do anything.
Or do anything
Because
when
of
she's
the
not in
boob
shackles?
tech.
You're right. They
That's
look
it.
at her boobs and they're just like,
They're like,
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do
Mila.
that.
Mila.
Okay, and so then, like, the king has problems with being nervous around his wife. That's, like, established.
That's established here. Yeah, where he's like, I'm an incel. My wife won't have sex with me. I don't know what to do.
I've been studying the blade.
Every time I showed her both
blade.
my penis and how good of a swords fight man I am.
Look at this hat that I've got.
Look at this.
Look
hat.
at these heels.
What
I
the
am a
fuck?
sexy
Look at
pilgrim.
these heels.
Yeah.
She needs to just get down with that,
Yeah.
and she is not.
She won't get
into
down with it, though.
Like she can tell, I think, that the queen or the king is really into gorgeous Michael Cera, and I think that's kind of an unspoken
He
part
actually
of the film.
is.
Yeah, he is.
Like,
He gives
yeah.
him a wink at the end of the movie,
Oh, yeah.
which suggests quite strongly that he wants to be his friend, but more than that. He wants to
Give him
be,
little kisses.
He wants to be friends with benefits.
Give him little kisses. Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine, but I don't think gorgeous Michael Cera's into him. So
Okay, so now we just cut to, like, Mila Jovovich pointlessly, or not pointlessly, kind of without any sort of establishment, just sort of goes through the palace
to
and,
steal
like,
the jewels.
pulls
Taking
random.
off more and more clothing
Yes.
as she goes.
Right.
No, this is where
Which
she
I had
switches
no
into
idea.
her Splinter
Ninja
Cell gear.
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
her like that has like the grappling hooks on the top
Yeah.
and the knives and,
And she rips off her, like, big dress and
Yeah.
leaves, like, her long Mila Jovovich
Giraffe,
legs.
baby giraffe
Giraffe legs, yeah. Which are phenomenal.
Yes,
but,
I had no idea espionage took so very little clothing. Like she.
It actually
just
takes a
kept
lot. You just
removing things.
That's why you wear so much, because there's a lot of layers to remove.
Jeez.
The, like, grappling hook thing that she uses to go down to the balcony is really pointless, though, because it clips onto her, like, corset or whatever, and she just jumps off, and then it just, like
Yeah.
She murders a
stops
dude.
her. No, it just stops her right before she's, like, about to smack onto the balcony.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, like, there's no slow falling, it was weird. It's like they.
I thought for
through, just kind of a weird thing in that movie where she pulls in the two grappling hooks are part of her costume, where she pulls off the shoulders.
I took
And they're
that to be
attached
they were
to
like
her.
inside the puffy shoulder pads.
They
or
were.
whatever. Right.
But,
so
like,
I was okay with like the placement of them. It just looked really stupid.
It's a
on
weird
the
thing
actual
to have
costume.
thought through to that point and then not just make it look not silly, where she
Yeah.
doesn't just get choked
Okay.
on, like, the
Why
line
not just
becoming
have it look
taut,
like one of the grappling or like the crossbow guns?
or just lower her down slowly, or like
any.
yeah.
What if her dress just became a giant
Or
parachute?
parachute.
Why not? It's a
There were
stupid fucking
many
movie.
solutions.
There were
to
several
this
times
problem,
during the movie I
okay?
thought she was going to do that with her
Parachute
dress.
with
Yeah.
her
like
super
do the
skirt.
with one of those poofy
Where it goes-
dress, yeah, where it just,
Yeah.
it just floats down
Right.
like
She's
Mary
like
Poppins
angelic
style.
down. to
Yeah.
the
So
ground
she
or whatever.
goes inside, kills a guard or whatever, and knows how to pull the right places on the fireplace chandeliers and whatnot to open up the secret annex and go in to where
She's a
the,
super spy. How would she not know?
Well, but see, she's a super spy, but then in the next scene, she's smart enough to throw out, like, a piece of fabric and let it fall, and it reveals these traps that are like these razor wire that the fabric just slices itself into, like, a bunch of
in the
ribbons on
Resident Evil scene for the third time in the
Yeah.
movie, where
And
they've
then-
shown
and then
this
it-
exact same scene.
After she exposes the traps, it cuts to the side and shows her just leaping through in, like, a spiral, like, jump that's just absolutely impossible.
Is it
And stops right
impossible?
before she she's
Okay.
about to hit one, right?
First
But
of all,
so-
you
but-
don't know that that's not
But so
possible.
my point overall...
Have you ever seen someone dip beneath the lasers as she did in the movie?
My point is, if she knew enough to have the intel to know how to pull all the right traps and get into the right place, how did she not know about the fucking razor wire trap? Like, if that exists, there has to be a way to disable it.
She
Otherwise,
did know because she threw the
woman.
cloth.
she
Yeah.
knew to check for a trap, but if the trap exists,
what
there's a
if it
way
was-
to disable
If it was like a pressure plate, then a piece of cloth wouldn't have fucking done anything.
No, again.
That's why she threw a piece of cloth, because
if-
she knew there was something
Later on, the
across
lady
room.
in waiting goes in and walks right to the diamonds. Somehow that trap has been turned off.
What the fuck?
Like
That
the
makes no
trap,
sense.
the trap can't be always on because
makes no
you
sense.
have to be able to get to the diamonds. So if she super spied all of the rest of this shit, she just didn't super spy the one last thing: how to turn off the
Last
fucking laser
little
grid.
detail.
It's not
Yeah.
a grid, it's fucking wire.
Okay,
Right?
It's a laser
like piano
grid.
wire.
It's a laser.
It's like
grid.
really thin, whatever you call
And
it.
if you touch it,
You immediately
Yes,
get cut apart.
immediately cut it
Like
cut
that scene
in
in
half.
Resident Evil.
yeah. So it's a laser grid. Yeah.
This
so
is
she
when the,
steals the diamonds. She and then just goes back to the Cardinal and just says, "I'm going back to England." And
this
she's
is when the
just
CGI
walking-
airship shows up.
And she's just walking around with this guy always, around all the guards, around
Yeah.
everyone.
Everyone
It's-
sees her with him.
Everyone sees her with him. Everyone sees them plotting. And it's never explained how she's just freely allowed to travel back and forth. Why she's cool with the
Because
English.
she's Mila Lady.
She's Mila Lady.
Mila
Right.
Lady can go where she pleases.
She just turns her headlamps on them. And it's like Ka from Jungle Book.
Trust in me.
Trust in me. So the gaudy fashion bullshit becomes a running joke, where earlier he'd asked about what the color was to wear now.
Yes, about Buckingham.
And then Orlando Bloom comes out wearing a different color.
Yeah, the color.
That was like the big joke of the movie.
With.
Right.
That was supposed to be like the big funny
blue.
moment.
Well, the self-aware,
Yeah.
like, look, we know what we're doing, guys.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. he's
Look
wearing
how
the wrong
funny it is.
color. And, I don't know, what about...
I got really excited when young Salvador Dali came out of the airship. That was a good part of the movie for me. I was reinvested
And
in the
his
film.
hair was still intact.
His hair was fabulous, and he came out of an airship, and
Can we break on this for the second half of the movie?
I have to pee so
Okay.
bad, though.
all right.
Okay, get to it. I want to hear
So the
it.
airship shows up with all the army outside, and the army
we
almost
recording
gets
right
yeah. See, yeah, we're recording right now.
Okay.
Testing
Got it.
135.
On
Start
it.
Start over.
3 spoopy
Gonna
5
have a
me.
good time. Gonna do a good time. How did this get made?
Oh my god. This is all getting cut. It all has to get cut. The airship shows up, the CGI airship, which they built apparently in like 3 days. Because it's hard to tell the scale of time in this movie. Like when people travel across a map, it's hard to tell like how many turns that is, like in a civilization.
Wait, I didn't even
context.
think about that because they had just captured the plans.
Yeah, he stole
in-
them like 5 minutes before that part of the movie.
Right.
Or like 10 minutes
yeah.
before.
See, that comes up again later. That I had thought about that, but not in this point.
Yeah.
Like, when France has their airship.
It just shows up though, like immediately.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Or
So,
Salvador Dali
like-
has built one.
Instantly constructed airships are a part of this movie. And I think actually there's kind of an explanation for that where there's supposed to just be balloons attached to existing ships.
No, but they have like landing gear on them.
Yeah, well,
They would have to
modified,
have built
like-
the whole thing to do that.
I don't think that's what it's supposed to be because later on they're just ships. Like,
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
and they have like trap doors and fucking grappling hooks that come down
Yeah.
at the bottom. But like
That seems to
yeah.
indicate they were built for that purpose, though.
Sure, I mean it's bullshit, but like I don't know.
You
It's
wouldn't- I don't know.
Leonardo's flying boats, man. Like,
I'm totally with that.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing the movie has going for
can't
it,
believe I'm defending this.
other than boobs.
So at this point, the plot of the movie is that
At this point, I got brain damage
the
while I was
plot of
watching
the movie
it.
is like hopelessly complicated, though. Where the plot is that Mila stole that necklace so that she could plant it in Orlando Bloom's place in the Tower of London, which is apparently where Orlando Bloom lives.
Where he resides.
Yeah,
Hey, where do you think he fucking parks the airship, dude?
right.
Gets his hair done.
So
And
she's
gets his
gonna-
hair done.
she's gonna
Where do you
go
think his
plant
hair
it
is planning
there.
to enter our reality?
through the
Through the
nexus.
widening maw.
So she's gonna go plant the diamonds on Orlando Bloom so that the King of France thinks that she was cheating on. So that the King of France thinks that the Queen was cheating on her with Orlando Bloom.
With Salvador Dali, yes.
Yeah.
Because he's got the diamonds that were given to her and are
A
behind
token of affection.
the lasers. Yeah.
What?
Get closer. Get closer to the thing.
I'm sorry.
No, and say your damn notes.
And say your stuff.
Okay, well, I thought this storyline was unnecessary. It took so long to get started.
Is this part of the original story? Does anyone know? Is this the whole plot?
The diamonds thing?
Yeah.
The diamonds thing? I don't think so.
Was there a character in the original who was Sam Fisher and went in and stole diamonds in a plot like
Yeah.
Ocean's 11?
Was Milady like a spy?
She was
I mean,
like,
she was like a
on
spy.
Rochford's side. This is how far I got reading it, like
Okay.
to our chop. I don't. We
Okay.
didn't make it all the way
Okay,
through
Jill
the
is our
illustrated Three
official.
Musketeers.
Just to make note here, Jill is our official historian on the podcast.
The
She's gonna give
historian.
She's our professor.
she's gonna give us some historical context here. Go ahead, Jill.
We did not make it that far, but I honestly don't know. But it took a really long time to get there. And it was not worth it once it got there. It just wasn't.
Are you talking about in the
So-
movie or the children's story?
No, the movie. I
Okay.
told you we only made part of the way through.
The story.
She has like no
Okay.
attention span.
No,
We didn't make it much.
nothing was.
It was
worth
an illustrated
anything.
version too. We did not make it far.
No.
Okay.
Well, in the movie, at this point, when the airship shows up and basically the plot's all set into motion, there's only maybe an hour left of this 2-hour movie. Or like less than an hour, maybe 50 minutes or so.
Less than an
Less.
hour.
This is when it starts to accelerate, even though nothing happens for the next 50 minutes of the movie.
Well, warships, cannonballs.
That's coming.
That happens. that's at the last 20 minutes of the movie. They blew their load
They did.
there.
So the beautiful Michael Cera's love interest, who's the lady in waiting of the
Oh
Queen.
god, we could have skipped right over.
That whole
really
plot
terrible.
is
Yeah.
really. She's awful. He agrees to risk his life and limb for to lose his virginity.
And he convinces the other Musketeers they see this convincing of him happening, and then they're basically like, got nothing better to do.
Pretty much. We're just gonna drink anyway.
We were gonna get wasted and have sex with prostitutes, but I guess we can save something.
And they
France.
he kind of Han Solos them into it, where he's like, there'll be a reward. She's a princess.
Yeah, they heavily imply there will be like sex slave stuff going on. That's not okay. Just want to say we are not in favor of sex slavery here on the podcast.
No.
I'm just going to come out against that right now.
Negative.
Okay.
Well, if we didn't say it, they might never know.
Yeah. The blonde lady agrees to pull her boobs out so that they can escape and go on this mission to stop them from planting the diamonds.
She's the decoy that lures all
Yes.
the kinsmen away.
She dresses in beautiful Michael Cera's clothes, and she pulls away the entire army.
Yeah, they all
literally
chase her.
For
all
one
of them.
All of the
musketeer.
When they know there's 4 of them, they know for a fact because everyone knows who they are. They're not like superheroes. They have no secret identity. The king brought them to the palace. Okay, we skipped over this earlier, but the king brought them to the palace and was like, "Oh, my musketeers," and gave them gold for murdering people. He gave them gold and was like, "Hey, do you guys need new clothes
It
too?"
was 4 against 40 though.
Yeah.
He realized that they were popular and sided with the Musketeers.
Yes, but they didn't do a good job of illustrating
Why.
that point.
Right.
It was just like
He just switches.
yeah, he's just like,
like-
I love my cool sword guys.
The whole
Yeah.
time though, he's like, I'm into it, and Christoph Waltz is like,
Don't be into it."
into it.
Yeah.
So the whole time he's fucking toying with the whole, I love them. Hearts.
Hearts.
Little kisses.
Kisses. Only on beautiful Michael Cera.
So they escape, and then
They escape. Also, they escape out the port where the king was like locked down the port.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone leaving the port, which implies like other ships out blockading the harbor or port guns shooting at ships and trying to leave the harbor, and they just sort of sail out. That's never explained.
yeah, it implies that there should be some further barrier to them getting away than there is. In
It's like the
movie.
handkerchief, one of those things where they say a thing that never is used. That's just kind of weird, and it's like the scene right before,
Yeah, it was 30 seconds before that the Pope,
the Pope, the Cardinal,
Cardinal in a bad wig, Christoph Waltz,
With a train.
Richelieu.
said lock down the ports and put the parking boot on the ships. Don't let them leave.
Yeah, and then they just leave.
And then they leave. And then it cuts to a scene with Mila Lady, and she's wearing what appears to be an outfit made out of... Mila Jovovich. She appears to be wearing an outfit made out of a jellyfish.
Yeah.
It's like a hood.
Jellyfish carcass hood.
Yeah. And then she beats a bunch of people up. This is her fight scene, right? I think this is a fight scene.
No, so after they're on the ship, it cuts to her and Orlando Bloom in the room, and she's telling him, like, hey, by the way, I didn't betray you, like, even if you're thinking it. Like, she brings it up.
Right.
And she's like, so you might hear some crazy shit. Like, I'm working for the Cardinal.
Listen.
And I just want to get ahead of you on that. It's like in 8th grade when, like, your little girlfriend goes and kisses Billy. She's like, if anyone says that I kiss Billy, that's just crazy talk.
That is completely
I just didn't kiss Billy.
That's exactly. So she totally
Never
didn't kiss
happened.
Billy if he so happens to hear that. And then she's just like, okay, the Musketeers are probably coming here though, by the way. And I'm just gonna leave. And
I'm out.
That's not gonna be a weird thing at all. And then Orlando Bloom goes, as she's leaving, he goes, hey, by the way, what's your favorite color? And she answers red. And he says, okay, I just wanted to see if you were capable of telling the truth.
Yeah.
As
Like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a little thing that they threw in there that leads to nothing and builds from nothing and goes nowhere. So she goes out and jumps in her carriage and she says, take me far away from here. And they ride off. So that she's away from the Musketeers, I guess, who want to come kill her also.
She's got the diamonds.
She has the diamonds.
Oh, and she has the diamonds, that's right.
If you can even remember what the fuck is going on here at this point, because you've probably tuned it out by now.
The movie's about a diamond heist.
It's basically Ocean's 11, but in the 17th century, 16th
With muskets.
century. With muskets.
So the guys come in, there's like weird throwaway scenes where they infiltrate the castle. The kid, beautiful Michael Cera.
You guys are so rude for not calling him D'Artagnan, okay?
Because that's a
that
stupid name. And I can't, this is a part of the movie where my notes they fail me because I don't
They become
remember
incomprehensible.
anything. I don't remember the scene that led to her, fighting.
The sneaking into the palace scene, or the...
Oh, she's
Tower
trying
of
to
London
hide
scene.
the diamonds. That's
Yeah.
why she sneaks in and beats up a bunch of dudes. Okay, this is where she goes into super slow-mo, and the camera does the rotating thing again, and she beats up a bunch of guys, and there's a bunch of ridiculous cuts and shit, and it looks really stupid. And the whole time, you're just like, wow, she's the penultimate quote-unquote badass character. Or not penultimate, that's not the right word, but they just want you to think she's super badass. Like, she can beat up all these dudes and do all this crazy shit. Like, was there ever an impediment to her doing anything in the whole movie? Other than the time where they figured out she was a bad guy and threw her in the water.
No, but see, that's like her
Are we
character.
there yet?
Right. But she's, it's not
She
not
could
like
be the most powerful person in the world, but she's just a lone wolf. Like,
but she's the
She's
classic...
ridiculous.
She's
The
a
classic
fantasy.
double agent character who
Yeah.
like they say in the fucking Steven Spielberg shitty Indiana Jones movie where he's like, I'm playing both sides, so I don't even know which side I'm on anymore.
Right.
Like that kind of, you're just like, God damn
well,
it.
it's completely inexplicable how she gets away with anything
Yeah.
other than just her feminine wiles.
It's like the Star Trek Into
She's
Darkness
got wily
movie.
feminine wiles.
Like, why does anyone trust anyone when they immediately are just gonna backstab?
Yeah.
Like, you know what's gonna happen. Like,
Girls,
Yeah.
tights, corsets, things happen.
yeah,
Of course.
yeah. I mean, they're really tight.
Exactly.
You don't understand how tight those fucking things are.
They have
Like,
anti-gravity.
they push your ribs in. Like, chicks just snap sometimes. Yeah, and
It's been known to
she's been
happen.
wearing one for 30 years. Because the dude that makes these movies, her husband, just puts her in a movie so that he can put her in a corset. Because he just wants to watch her flip around in a corset. And then when she comes home and her ribs are shooting through her rib cage, she's like, "That is so hot. That's
Okay,
so
but
hot, babe."
really, slow-mo is not her friend.
No.
Because of that. So, her wig does all the bouncing.
Yeah.
Where her boobs do not bounce when she's, running and stuff. And it's just, wig.
It's the most
Doing the drop
Anti-gravity.
while her
Yeah.
boobs
No,
are
you're right.
fucking chilling
it's
for
the
the
most-
And boob
whole
tech.
thing.
It's the most pronounced in the scene where she is running in the beginning through the crossbows. They're shooting little balls.
Yeah.
And when she runs, it just looks fucking awful. Like when she's bouncing, it's like huge leaping bounds that she's taking.
They got Academy Award nominated for their boob tech.
I was actually listening to you for real, like you were going to say something that was
You
true.
were in it
I was waiting on
briefly.
bated breath for him to say
Briefly, you
that
were
they got like a costume nod or something.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, dude, Suicide Squad won an Academy Award, so now anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. This movie
just don't
could have
even
won
bring that.
Best
Don't
Picture.
bring it up.
If Suicide Squad can win an Academy Award, this is high quality cinema. I'm just saying. We're not going to talk about that? Okay, we'll go.
No.
We'll cut all this
I
out.
want to talk about sword fight.
We're not cutting
Cut out
any of
the
this
last
out.
20 minutes.
We're not cutting any of this out.
Beautiful Michael, Sarah, and Rochford. How far away are we from
the
their
sword fight? Okay,
on
we're
the
still
roof?
not
No,
quite there.
we're coming up.
We're not quite there. We're almost there. We got to get there.
Killing
So
me.
wait. So there's a couple things before that. So they go in. There's still giant dicks to plucky comic relief guy who looks like Meatloaf, by the way. Like that struck me. Yeah, and they still shit on him constantly.
And he
even
was
when-
literally shit upon earlier in the movie. Just throwing that out
He's
there.
the linchpin of the whole. They literally say in the movie, but our linchpin was fucking Meatloaf, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Fair
And he shows up at the end, like holding a giant leg of fucking like hog's leg and like some
Food.
other shit.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's his whole role is to be a
Yeah,
fat guy,
there's-
funny fat
they
guy.
still shit on him the entire movie. They show up. They've stolen Orlando Bloom's airship. They show up in winch up.
They bamboozled him.
They
They bamboozled. They Bugs Bunnied him. They got him to go inside, and then they stole the airship.
They winch up the carriage that Mila Jovovich is on.
No,
Yeah,
wait,
they do.
we skipped past. They invented the flamethrower.
They did.
In the scene
Oh,
before
right.
that, they
Well,
invented
do, like,
the flamethrower.
They do the Morpheus scene.
Yes,
from,
I said the same thing when we were watching it. Yes, yeah.
The Morpheus scene from The Matrix,
Yeah.
where they go in the helicopter and Morpheus is like tied up in the chair and they just shoot the shit out of the
Dude,
room.
it's like 1-to-1, the same shots.
And
Like,
they don't
yeah.
give a shit about shooting their own guy, but they somehow just never hit him.
Yeah,
And-
they shoot up the whole room, and he's running in slow mo
Yeah,
to jump out
and
the
jumping
thing.
out of the window to like. land
And
on
he
the
even has
helicopter.
chains on.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking scene.
Right.
Exactly the same. And there's
It's
a big
amazing.
explosion, and he flies out, and it's terrible.
And like no one in the room dies, of course. Like
No.
no one actually gets hit.
Salvador Dali manages to dodge all the shrapnel
So
and
they-
the flamethrower.
They pick up the carriage. They're flying away with Mila Jovovich, and they
Trick her. They bamboozle Mila too.
They do.
Mila
They
Lady
get
gets
her.
bamboozled by Meatloaf.
Right, because Meatloaf was the carriage driver.
Right.
Yes.
He tricked her.
And they had taken the gunpowder out of her gun. Like, see, that's an unnecessary thing too, where they had taken the gunpowder out of her guns that she
Okay,
had stashed.
this leads to the scene
Unnecessary.
that Jill and I both looked at, and we were like, "What the fuck?" She throws the gun, and it falls out of the airship. And for some reason, they cut to the ground and show the gun fall.
Because it
it's in
was
3D?
the gun flying right at the camera.
Because it's in 3D.
Yeah, it's Jaws 3D.
That's so
Like,
fucking stupid.
right, but this
So
is
they just threw in a 3-second CGI moment for no reason
Of
other
3D,
than because
yeah.
there was probably like a quota. It's been like 5 minutes since we had something
Right.
shoot into the audience's fucking stupid
well, it's
fat
like, look,
faces in
this
the
movie
movie
shit's
theater.
expensive. We gotta fucking
Justify
use
its
it. Yeah, we gotta
existence,
use it. So pointless scene. Actually, that was probably the entire reason for even having the gun in her hand. Like,
Yeah.
she pulls a secret gun out of the carriage while they're winching her up, and so once they come out and get out of the carriage and give us the diamonds, she aims the gun at the
pulls the
musketeer
trigger.
and pulls the trigger, and they're like, "Oh, well, too bad we took the gunpowder out of your guns. We thought once that we're 3D chess and you're still playing checkers." And then she tosses the gun out of the ship, and it cuts, like we just said, to the gun coming at your screen. That totally makes sense. For that being
What's the
whole-
Star Trek chess called where they play?
I think that's just 3D chess.
Is it 3D chess?
I think so.
And it makes no sense. Like there's no like rules.
Oh, no, of course that'd be complicated.
Way too complicated.
So that's what they play in the movie, though, right?
Yeah.
That's what I saw them playing earlier in the movie.
So, yeah, 3D chess, where you can just flip the board. So, they fly away on their airship, and somehow France, in the King's, guard, sent by the Cardinal, come after them. So, it's been 5 days since they went on this mission. Somehow, France went to just discovering that these airships exist to having this airship that's twice the size
Yeah.
of the original
Hella
one.
gnarly.
Yeah, we immediately,
This
when
thing
we
is
saw them side by
insane.
side.
We were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, what the fuck? How did they build one that's like 4 times bigger
It's
the
enormous.
next
Raw
day?
Yeah.
determination.
Literally a day later, they have one that's like 4 times bigger.
Right. So they come side by side. There's like a bullshitty give us the diamonds and we'll give you the girl. You got to fight for love, not France.
Yeah.
Even though these musketeers ostensibly should be fighting for France, not like the king or whatever, they should be loyal to like France, right? Not like this particular king or this
that's what I
particular
thought.
cardinal.
But earlier in the movie, they made it very clear that they
just don't give a shit.
They like to drink.
Yeah.
They like to have sex with prostitutes.
Right.
They like to murder people who have families and destabilize economies in the local area.
I would have thought that speech could have been maybe like, okay, maybe we were wrong about our wanting to just drink and be like idiots earlier. Maybe if you like, maybe one man can change the fate of.
Yeah, if you find the musketeer inside your heart,
right,
deep down in your butthole.
Exactly, like D'Artagnan.
That is not
Beautiful
the
Michael
speech we got.
Cera.
He's like, dude, do it for the pussy.
He goes, look, do you want to be an incel forever like the king? No, you
That
don't.
sweet tang.
You want to put your sword between her boobs.
Yeah.
Sheath.
You want to sheath your sword. So he goes to go sheath his sword.
At this point in the movie, everyone had a silly hat on.
Yeah.
Literally
Silly
everyone.
hat.
Like, okay, Hannibal
Coming
has
out
a
of
silly
your
hat.
twat. Gorgeous hat.
Fucking the king's hat is ridiculous. Fucking the Pope has a silly hat on. I know he's a cardinal. I'm
Stop
still gonna call
calling
him
him a pope.
the Pope. Everyone has a stupid hat on.
So we do the thing where the boats start shooting at each other in the air.
But the bigger boat has better guns
Right,
than
and
the little boat.
it just starts obliterating the little boat, but like of course nobody dies. They'll just do like slow motion jumping around going
Ships
no!
just fine.
And like
Also,
nothing...
it's crewed by like 3 people.
Yeah, it's like
And there's no fucking way they would like. Have
He's
you ever
just
flown
like,
an
boop
airship
cannon,
before?
boop cannon.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
no
airships-
effort.
There's a lot of cannons on
You
both
need at
sides
least
of an
20
airship.
people to drive an
Yeah,
airship.
you need like 20 to
Just
30
speaking from
people.
personal
And you got to think
experience.
about the sails. Like, that takes a lot of people to turn, like all that shit. Okay,
Right.
it's not a simple
rigging,
thing.
yeah.
No, not a lot of thought went into that.
So yeah, no one dies. The worst that ever happens is like they have to jump and then they're like covered in dust and they're like, "Ooh, that was a close one." And so, but like, don't worry. There's this like convenient, huge storm cell right next to them that they just like fly into.
Gotta
They're just,
go
like,
into the storm,
steer for
man.
the
Not only
storm,
that, they
like-
disappear and they somehow get way above
yeah.
the other ship.
But no one had ever noticed this storm, or like it hadn't been a factor
No.
until they just fly, and 2 seconds later they can just zip into
How
the
are they
storm.
gonna focus on the storm when they were in the middle of a battle?
But they weren't in the battle; they were docked next to each other, and no one gave a shit about this giant storm that was next to them.
They weren't shooting cannons yet?
And of
No, they
course-
were at that point.
Of course,
They
Darth
were.
Vader is like,
Darth Vader.
you
Which
know-
one's Darth Vader?
Or no, his
Hannibal?
captain's like, we can't fly into the asteroid field, and Darth Vader's.
Oh, and then he shoots him.
Right.
The guy who comes up. This was where Hannibal Lecter established himself as an Imperial line officer, a commissar, where he
Yeah.
just fucking burned the guy who questioned his orders.
Right.
And he established himself once again as the movie's bad guy.
Right.
As one of the bad
As
guys.
if
Yeah.
ponytail, goatee, and
As
eye
if
patch
his fucking eye patch
weren't
with the
enough.
chaos symbol of Slanish on it wasn't enough to tell us
Yeah.
that he's a bad guy.
And
He had to
just
shoot a guy.
says, "Screw you, man. We're flying in. Does anyone
Yeah.
else want to object to my orders?"
Suck it.
And someone comes up and is like, "Yes, ah."
Immediately. Yes, I got that. So they go. Then there's like the common thing of like the more nimble, our heroes thing, like out nimbles them and like shoots them and flies around and they're all come to port,
He says,
sir. Like,
"Round 2."
Yeah.
And then they shoot at them from
Yeah.
above.
oh yeah.
That's his
Time
big
for
one.
round 2.
That's his big one-liner.
Basically, this movie's
That's
the
his
A-Team.
pocket
Like,
sand.
this
That's his
movie-
pocket sand.
Yeah.
Round 2, bitches. I think if this movie had been rated R and they like swore a whole bunch while they were doing this, it would have added that. Even without the extra layer of it being more exciting, it would have made it funnier just because they were saying like fuck and
Right.
ass and shit. Like, I think that would have added something to it that. The violence in it is so PG. It's
Yeah,
like barely. There's no blood.
No
ever.
blood, all swords poking through where they're like, yeah! It's like,
Nobody
it
gets.
doesn't really
it
go
cuts.
in that
No,
far.
you
It's
never
kind
see
of-
it
show
go
it really
to the
die.
other side.
No.
You never see a sword
It
go through
goes
something like
through
Game of
nowhere.
Thrones style, like "Blah," where you like see it come out the other side and somebody's guts come out with it. Like no.
So these guys outfight the ineffective, bloated but powerful King's troops, And like cliche after cliche where the bad guy shots are disrupted by the airship like colliding with Notre Dame Cathedral as it
Yeah.
goes down.
This
where,
is like super schlock at this
Yeah,
point. It
right.
goes to full
they're
schlock.
like just about to fire the big broadside and then like they smash into the cathedral and it disrupts their shot and like everyone falls over and so they don't fire the fire the lasers or whatever.
Yeah, the ultimate blow that would have taken them out.
That would have taken them out, and then
the other airship crashes into that airship.
On top of that, and somehow they both get impaled on a steeple.
Yeah.
And the CGI steeple goes up through the ship.
And they both get just impaled there, and then they're sitting on top of it like a cocktail weenie on a teapot. Like, somehow the whole ship is being rested on this one point. Like,
at this point, the director got the idea for this scene from watching his kid just crash two of his cars together, like playing in his house. He was like, and then he was like, and then they go on the house, and they're like,
and it's Notre Dame Cathedral, like, of course.
He's like, I'll just ram these airships into a famous landmark for the ultimate scene in the movie. That's a great idea.
They are the Musketeers, pal.
Okay, and then of course we have a big rooftop fight scene.
Fly that thing away from there.
No, that's later.
Yeah,
so
but how does it leave?
Rooftop
we
fight?
have a big rooftop fight scene on top of the movie.
Yes, they do.
Okay, this is you.
Yeah.
Okay,
go for it.
So, beautiful Michael Cera.
Oh my god.
And eye patch, ponytail, goatee, bad guy.
Yeah.
Are going to town on each other on this, like, very narrow, tippy top of a roof. And it's all, for my honor, and like, fuck you. Just ridiculousness.
What is the line that he says when he murders him? What does he say? Do you remember the line?
I don't remember.
He says,
it's so
you should have
ridiculous.
apologized
to my horse.
Yeah.
Which,
Before
by
he
the
takes
way,
him out.
people, this entire movie, you're all wrong.
It's all about a horse.
It's about bad manners. You need to apologize to the horse. None of this ever happened.
Yeah.
Clean slate.
Oh my god.
You're right, he wouldn't have been on board really for any of
No.
this.
He could go back in time and
He would have
let him
convinced the other
apologize.
Musketeers. None of this shit would have happened.
If he had
None
just
of
apologized
it.
to his
Just
horse.
apologize to the horse from
He did ask
the
him
get-go.
nicely to apologize to his
He
horse.
did.
So at this point I wrote, and of course we're having a rooftop fight scene on Notre Dame in the movie. I don't think I can go on, oh god.
Yeah, by that point it was toast.
It struck
was
me
like,
of, I can't
it.
remember exactly the movie. I think it was like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen maybe, or
It
something.
did look like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen a lot.
But where they've got like a fight inside of Big Ben, or was it like one of the Sherlock Holmes movies, or I can't remember.
I think League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has some...
Like hanging on the
That
minute
sounds
hand.
Sherlocky, man.
Is that okay?
Is it?
I don't think so though. That's pretty Sherlock.
I know what you're talking about.
So,
But,
but to me, the swordplay wasn't terrible. Really, kind of overall in the whole movie, the swordplay wasn't that
No, it was
No,
just.
but
And
there's a
it
lot
wasn't
of
even edited
long
poorly.
lasting.
bad. There's a lot of the bad guy having the good guy in like a fatal position and being dumb about it.
Backed up to the corner
Yeah.
of everything. This fool would just like inch back and back, and
Well,
now
and then he's like, when he's in
I'm
a
about to
killing,
die.
when he's in a
He
killing
shimmied his
position,
beautiful
Yes.
shoulders back.
the bad guy has to say something, like that gives him the opening to go in. And,
I mean, I'm okay with that in a movie where people wear silly hats and fight with swords on rooftops.
I was.
that was fine in like if it's like an '80s action movie,
Which I think that's kind of what they were...
going for.
I think they were trying to
Possibly.
make a shitty, like, B version of the Three Musketeers, but I don't think it
I don't
even...
think they were trying to make a shitty beat.
I don't know. Like, it wasn't like a big budget action movie, because the script was fucking, like, trash
Well,
garbage.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But so at the end, after they kill the guy, they just fly the thing off the spire, off the steeple. Mm-hmm. And then there's a scene where they're landing in the palace. They kind of crash land and they hop off and they've given the queen the diamonds off camera.
Yeah, she walks
And-
up with them already on.
And they tell the king that his captain of the guards was the traitor.
And they tell them that the cardinal revealed it,
Right, and
Yes.
and they give the cardinal credit for revealing it.
so that the cardinal will presumably leave them alone.
But
For the
like,
time being?
why not?
Why did they do that?
Why do that?
Why not get rid
I
of
have
them?
no
That
idea.
made no fucking
I
sense
think,
at all.
and
no,
she said
and I
this,
know why.
that it was to set up another movie.
Right,
Yeah.
because in a minute, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
the end of the
You
movie.
get an ending.
right, so then
We
right,
get-
so,
you know what, we
see the king reconcile with the queen, where he's like,
Aw,
now he
little
can dance with
kisses.
her.
Not only is he going to dance with her, he's going to dance with her.
Yeah, he's gonna dance with
They're
her.
going to do a horizontal
There's a
dance.
scene earlier in the movie
Ridiculous.
where he finds the planted letters, and he says that the queen consummated
Yes.
her relationship with Orlando Bloom, and he
Listen.
asks the cardinal if consummate means what I think it means.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
He's a
first
little
of all,
panicked.
you guys need to leave the king alone because he's an incel. He doesn't get laid like everyone else does. It's not his fault.
He did
okay?
get the silkiest wig.
He got the silkiest wig. Also, he got the best hats.
True.
He was a sexy pilgrim the entire movie. He rocked it.
And those shoes, man.
All of his outfits were great.
nice skinny legs.
So, and so Mia Jablomi had jumped off the she had jumped off the airship earlier instead of letting the Musketeers shoot her.
Yes.
Like,
As he says,
taking her own life to spare him.
Because he would never be able to live with himself if
Right,
he
of
shot
course.
her.
So, kind of like right before the credits, it shows that she's drug out of the water by Orlando Bloom, and he's like, "We're gonna go take revenge on the French."
And then it zooms out Game of Thrones
Clap
style,
back.
and there's 5,000 ships.
Yeah,
Not that
and
many, but
airships.
and
Copy pasta
yeah,
ships.
that's the
Yeah.
big reveal.
Very
Copy
like
pasted.
laid
Yeah.
out. Like
Yep.
we were tired at the end of this.
But they put some
As
lens flare on like the
tired
ones
as
on the
you.
left so that it looked like a real
Yes.
shot. Yeah. Oh my
Hey,
god, the
you guys-
CGI looked like crap.
I got super hyped for it. That's not true. Some of it looked okay. The town stuff, or the cities looked okay.
Okay, and
from
then,
above and
and
stuff
then
like
we roll credits. No, the cities were shit.
No, the one at the beginning was good, and
I liked the fireworks.
Venice
in the
looked good,
city.
and so did the backgrounds when they were at the harbor.
No, dude, the backgrounds of the harbor, to me anyway, that was some of the worst compositing of the whole movie. Yeah.
I thought that was the only part of it where it actually looked blended.
I have a note in here where I talk about how the compositing of the harbor is especially bad.
Oh my god, that
There's
was
a note. He
that was
did
one of the only
research.
scenes that stood out to me where it actually looked like the two things
Made
were
sense.
together.
Yeah.
Where they actually like planned the shots around it and didn't just like they were like, we'll fill it in later.
Well, see, to me it was like everything from the
perspective of it.
ocean on was composited. Like the ships in the harbor and everything from like after, like I thought the buildings and the land, all of the land was real. Like the
Yeah.
dock and all of the land I thought was real. And then it looked like to me that they composited all the ships in the ocean.
I think the ships
Yes.
were
and
too.
it
Yeah.
looked
Yes.
bad, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe I
so-
just had lower expectations because of how shitty some of the other stuff in
And
it
see, I
was.
chalked it up to it being like a daytime scene, and it's just not being good CGI. But I don't
Yeah.
know. So then we cut to credits after we see Orlando Bloom and Mia Jablomi, and the credits music is like a Counting Crows song.
Oh,
It's
man.
a terrible
Oh
song.
my god, we didn't look up
were
what it
like,
was.
what
I didn't
is
look it up either, but I'm
Holy
pretty sure
shit.
it's like it probably isn't Counting Crows, but it's
I
like
don't
equivalently
understand
like
why
weird.
they did that.
It was
It's like a bro rock, like dad rock kind of.
It was a free use Counting Crows
It
like
was
song.
problematic.
They ran out of
I don't
budget.
know where it came from.
It was actually the director's band. His band made that. I don't
like
know.
his nephew.
His nephew's band. Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of the things in this movie probably have that feel
We're
to
the
them.
nephews.
Yeah, where it's like my nephew who smokes a lot of
My
weed,
nephew's on summer vacay.
Yeah, he
and
needs an
internship. so
unpaid.
we're
He
hooking
will
this
be
up.
making decisions that affect the
He's
budget of the
hooking
film.
this up.
All right, so
He does
other,
cocaine. Are we good here?
Other things just on this movie.
Yeah, give us some thoughts.
This movie,
She says while
I
holding
want-
her forehead.
I don't even know what to do for the next movie, but this was not a good movie.
Yeah, I would not recommend watching this.
I
movie.
was very upset and distracted by the wigs the entire time. And I guess they spent their money in the best places they could have spent it. But the wigs were so bad and the costumes were so good. This was difficult for me to digest.
There was a large.
Oh wait, the
juxtaposition.
abrupt sex scene between Mila Milady
Oh,
and Orlando Buckingham, where they
Oh.
just like awkwardly paw each other, cut, and it's
Yeah.
done. Like
Oh,
they
he
talk
says-
sexy.
He says,
and
"Should I
then-
check you for concealed weapons?"
Oh,
and she goes like,
God.
"Tee."
It's
Yeah.
so painful, and it ends so mercifully.
well, the thing is, they actually did keep filming after that because Paul W.S. Anderson likes to film
It was
Mila
so
Lady
uncomfortable.
having sex
other
with
men.
Salvador Dali. Particularly Salvador Dali. That's like a fetish of
It
his.
was like not even 8th grade making out. It was so uncomfortable. But it ended quickly. And
It was over quick.
I appreciate that.
You know, most of the scenes, I have to say, like the editing in this movie was pretty good.
It was fine.
It-
It wasn't confusing.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't know what was going on in the story, but that was because I was bored.
Well, and it's
it
also
wasn't.
because the story was just like it was 3 stories.
It was
Yeah.
Too much story.
Too much story. The plot was way too convoluted.
Maybe just make it about Michael Cera. And, no, seriously, like, make it from his perspective, and then he just runs into all the other people.
They just needed a reason to have to get the diamonds back. Like,
I could have taken starting with the go get the jewels.
yeah, there's not a reason to have it be...
Jewel heist.
I read the first part of the book. I didn't need that whole, well, fuck you, let's meet at noon. Well, fuck you, let's meet at 1 o'clock. Well, fuck
I
you,
feel
let's
like
meet at 2.
They didn't know whether to make beautiful Michael Cera the main storyline or Mila Jovovich
It's
the main
because
storyline.
she was
Yankovic.
doing the director. That's
Yeah.
why she was in all the fucking scenes in the movie. Like, there was no reason for her character to be the other main character other than she's
Milady.
Mila Lady.
Well, and it's like they tried to do a redemption of the, surly Three Musketeers kind of storyline, and that wasn't ever really fully done either.
No.
Yeah, I shouldn't say because I don't know how much she actually factors into the original story, so I really don't know.
You gotta read the thing.
I'm not going to read it. I'm not doing any research for this. Let's real quick. Let's do our budget estimates. How much do you think that this movie cost to make? Everyone.
You go first.
No, okay, I said $85 million, and the actual budget is $75 million. So I was kind of
Dang,
close.
I was gonna say like 98.
Yeah, I would have
The
guessed close to
costumes.
100.
Okay.
Once again, not the wigs,
It made-
but the costumes.
Wait, no,
CGI.
how much it made? Don't tell us.
How much do you think it made?
I think it made, I bet it made 120,000.
120 million?
Or, sorry, 120.
No, I think it made 120,000.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay, it was
The cut.
how much to make it?
75.
75. I'm going to say it did 150. It did double.
It did 132.
Ugh.
That between us.
So
High five.
High five.
It did fairly good for a $75 million movie. It didn't do great. It didn't make enough to justify a sequel, but
I think it made enough to make the investors their money back. or
yeah,
whatever.
they
It
weren't
was a
unhappy
profitable
at the
movie,
end of
yeah.
that.
I understand why
They-
the wigs
you know
were
what?
poor.
That guy, Paul W.S. Anderson, gets to keep making movies because he didn't lose money.
Yeah, right?
Whatever, the costumes were dope.
And
I'm
Mila
gonna give
Lady was
that
in it.
big time. I like the stupid hats and high heels and the tights and the stupid boob tech.
Yeah, it's like if you really like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, this was kind of in the same vein.
Except that was not a terrible movie.
Right. Well, some of the
I
later
like the
ones, the
first
plots
one.
are about as convoluted, though.
I didn't keep up. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I saw the first 3. There's one after that?
I have
2?
no idea. I think there's like 7. You know
What?
what it is.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay,
Well, after Paul Walker
get
died.
this.
Oh no.
Breaking news on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Breaking
I'm on
news.
Wikipedia because this is all definitely true. Mila Lady Jovovich apparently criticized the Summit Entertainment for not promoting, quote unquote, not promoting the film properly as a family film in the
What?
United States. This was not a family film.
No.
I would not show my children. I wouldn't show someone that I hated this movie. Really, I wouldn't torture someone with this movie.
I
if we're being
might
honest.
if I was getting trashed with some fellow ladies and we weren't really paying attention. The costumes are nice.
Okay, a solid background noise recommendation. Turn it on if you're drinking and not paying attention to it. That seems
It looks,
that seems like a good rec.
aside from, just it's a set and then chill. It's a set. Aside from that, if you're not paying too much attention, it's just fine.
All right, I think that's it.
Are we to make a recommendation?
I think we did. I mean, I recommend dumping this film in a landfill if you own it on DVD, and if you see it on Netflix, I recommend getting rid of your Netflix subscription so that you can't watch
seeing Kingsman
That's a good movie
instead
to
of
recommend.
this.
That's good.
If
Do you have a
think
movie
you
you
might
want to
want to
recommend?
watch this, see
Yeah,
Kingsman
go watch
instead.
Downfall.
Yeah. Ford recommends Downfall.
Der Untergang.
I have a feeling that's going to be a running.
That's forever.
Well, no, that was made by this studio.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that's a good recommendation. That is a good movie,
Yeah.
especially if you like Nazis.
Apparently, the studio's other movies are, not all of them, obviously, but the ones that I clicked through, they made a lot of stuff, actually, where